All right, welcome back to this Thursday morning edition of Chicago Now. Anthony Ponce here alongside Jake Hamilton. What can you tell us about the next edition of The Bear here? I understand the show is about to make, what is this?
Next
season 3
season
or 4?
four, baby.
4, okay.
Season 4. We basically have Jeremy Allen White on the show right now.
Hi.
My man.
Hi.
Ben, good to see you, brother. How are you?
Nice to meet you. Nice to see you guys.
Man, but
April
before we even get
Fools.
to everything, are you a fan of? Do you actually watch The Bear?
I do watch The Bear. I wouldn't say I'm a super fan, but I watch The Bear.
When did you, okay, so Ben Shabad, everybody, we're going to talk about what his day job is when he's not winning Jeremy Allen White lookalike contest. But Ben, I know that Jeremy Allen White was in Shameless. That's where most folks kind of got their first, like,
Sure.
you know.
He played Lip in Shameless.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was that for you? And the first time you saw him on screen, did you make any connections there?
No, I don't think I made any personally by myself before people started mentioning it to me. Yeah, and I would get it sometimes when he was on Shameless. Definitely more so when he was on The Bear.
I would say, as The Bear, how long did it take for you? Because, you know, one person does it here, another person does it a few days later.
Yeah.
How long until you started going, oh, this is my life now? This is what's
My
going
life.
to happen?
You know, I don't know if I've reached that point still. I definitely don't consider the lookalike thing to be my life, but it's definitely changed certain aspects of my life, and it's given me a platform to talk with people about mental health, which is what I do for a living, and it's what I'm passionate about, and so it's been really cool in that respect.
That's great. I love that you're leaning into this to talk about mental health, because it's such I like that the stigma is kind of gradually like wearing off here.
Yes.
It's more and more common. I'm very open about the fact that I am a huge fan of therapy. I go myself. My wife and I hop into couples counseling from time to time when we need a tune-up. I love talking about it because, again, I'm in the, hey, let's talk about it openly so the stigma goes away. Well, how are you involved? Are you a therapist? Like, give folks some background on your mental health background.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm glad I'm in good company.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a mental health therapist, and I work with clients from all walks of life. And let's see, I work with a lot of people who are navigating depression and anxiety and relationship issues and self-esteem and kind of that feeling of being stuck and feeling off in certain areas of your life. And my approach is less about focusing on a diagnosis. I'm less concerned with diagnosis and more concerned with what drives the symptoms. So, you know, what factors and experiences have shaped my clients' lives, and how can we work together to move forward and help them reach their goals.
Well, Anthony, you brought up a great point about sort of that stigma.
Yeah.
Progressively, year by year, feels like it's sort of lessening. But is that still a struggle that you're sort of dealing with, is getting people to first and foremost recognize there's nothing wrong with seeking therapy. Therapy can be an amazing thing, and it doesn't mean, you know, I thought you used a great analogy, that the tune-up, you wouldn't drive your car for 100,000 miles and never bring it to a mechanic. Like, you should do that for yourself.
100%, you hit the nail on the head. One of my big goals in doing all of this is trying to reduce the stigma. Did you know June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month?
Oh, interesting.
And so, you know, that's particularly important group to focus on, because I think men more so than women are reluctant to seek help for themselves when it comes to mental health. And part of that is due, I'd say a large part of that, to the stigma surrounding it, the expectations that are placed on men and about how they should handle their feelings and regulate their emotions and tough it out. But I agree 100%. Seeking help for yourself is very courageous, you know, and so I try to kind of flip the narrative on that and make sure people know that it's really a strong thing to do, to recognize when you're not doing that well, or if you just need some support, need somebody to talk to. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and plenty of people do that, and it's a really healthy thing, you know.
Yeah, here in 2025, are you finding that more and more men are being open about kind of exposing themselves? It can't be easy for a lot of folks to make their way in to speak with someone one-on-one, but for men in particular, do you feel like the problem is do you feel like things are getting better?
Things are getting better, yeah. I think there's been huge shift in the way people view mental health. I think it's being talked about more openly. I think people are more willing not only to seek out therapy, but just discuss it with people. You know, it used to be more of a hidden thing. You know, you're kind of going in the back door and you don't want anybody to see you. But now people are very open about the fact that they're in therapy and why they're in therapy. And it's awesome. It's just like going to the doctor, like it should be. Just, you know, you're doing something else to help yourself. And you work out, like, you know, you use the car analogy, you work out to keep your body strong. People go to therapy as a tool to keep their mind strong.
I love that.
And I'm all for it, obviously.
And, you know, to circle back around, something I thought you said was really interesting is it's fun to talk about the Jeremy Allen White lookalike contest, and it's fun to, you know, we'll show video of it, you know, because we had cameras whenever you did it.
Yeah.
But I love that you sort of took that moment and said, okay, that's great, that's funny, fantastic.
Yeah.
How can I capitalize on that? And you're taking a moment that was about you, and you're using it to make it about other people, and I think that's really cool.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know, it's kind of like, it's hard to think back to what I was thinking at the time specifically.
Right.
I just knew that there were a lot of eyes on me, and I knew that people were reaching out to me and pointing out the irony of me looking like this chef who's obviously going through a lot of mental health struggles.
Who could use a little therapy.
Yes, and I'm a mental health therapist, and so that partially pointed me in the direction of doing what I'm doing now. But also just that, you know, I figured I'm having these conversations with people one-on-one all the time. You know, I am humbled and grateful to my clients for trusting me, you know, bringing me into their world and allowing me to walk alongside them and help them discover new possibilities. And now I have this huge audience. I'm like, in what way could I bring this, you know, to everybody or to more people? And so, yeah, that's been kind of the driving force behind everything I've been doing since then.
I know that it likely depends on the client. If it's you know, an older person, a man, a woman, a child, or whatever, or a couple, as you mentioned. But are you noticing any common threads or connective tissue in terms of what is driving people into therapy here in 2025? For example, we have spent a lot of time reporting on cell phones, social media, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, that's a great question. I don't have the answer for sure about that. I can say based on my experience and talking to other colleagues in the field, I do get the sense that people are just feeling unfulfilled in various areas of their life. And what's driving that, I think, depends on the person for sure. But I think social media definitely plays a role. The fast pace of society these days plays a role. And everything is just in your face. And when it comes to school, I don't think the path is as clear as it used to be. You know, post-secondary school.
Right.
I think when it comes to work, the path isn't as clear as it used to be. People hop around jobs a lot more. And they connect with people in different ways. You know, I think in some ways social media is healthy because it keeps people connected. In other ways, people rely on it entirely to stay connected, and that's not a healthy thing too. I think it's funny at the actual competition that I won. One of the things that I took away from it was how cool it was to just have so many people in person celebrating.
Oh, yeah.
And that to me felt more rare,
as opposed to like heart
yes,
press a heart.
Yes, and yeah, a lot of people were recording and that type of stuff, but I also noticed a lot of people just talking with each other and laughing with each other and having fun and not staring at the screen. And so, you know, everything was kind of a whirlwind. But when I walked away, I was like, that was a really cool. Before I even knew that it blew up so much, you know, I was like, that was such a cool experience. I think society needs more of that.
Yeah, on a kind of a related note here, you mentioned how pleasing it was to see everybody interacting in person. I know that the pandemic, when you know, we relied on our phones even more, we were getting less in-person interaction, you know, for months on end.
Yeah.
What are you seeing here now that the pandemic is in the rearview mirror? I know there's a new strain of COVID out there. We won't talk about that right now. However, are you still seeing residual mental health effects as a result of the pandemic, and how so?
Yeah, that's a good question. Again, it's hard to know exactly where things stem from, but I think feeling disconnected is a very prevalent feeling still, and I don't know if that's necessarily because of how we as a society responded to COVID and everybody kind of sheltered and moved away from each other, but going back to what we were talking about with the phones and social media and all of that, there is a little bit less of people feeling connected to each other and getting that type of fulfillment in their life. I think humans are social creatures, and so we need to be around other people, and we derive so much satisfaction and pleasure from connecting with people in person, face to face. And the phones and the internet, it poses a big obstacle for that. And so we got to just figure out how to overcome that.
I'm curious how much, I'm the entertainment reporter here, and I'm really curious how much, we talked about the stigma sort of coming away from mental health, how much pop culture can help in a way make people accept therapy. One of the most popular shows on TV right now is Shrinking.
Yeah.
And which is very much a love letter
to
people going to therapy and for mental health. And do you guys notice when something like Shrinking or a movie or anything in pop culture that gives a thumbs up to therapy, do you notice sort of people responding in that way?
Yeah, well, I don't. It's not like I notice an influx in
like someone's coming in, like I saw Shrinking.
That, not so much.
Yeah.
But I do think that that it reflects the reality from what I've seen on TV of how people view therapy,
cool.
which is accurate. In that it's not a magical fix,
sure,
but it does provide a space to self-reflect and figure things out. That's what therapy is about. It's very hard to be objective about your own behavior, and because of that, it's hard to identify those personal factors that lead to negative cycles that a lot of us experience. And so that's why therapy is so helpful for a lot of people, because you're talking to somebody, discussing what's going on in your life. This is a person who doesn't know you in any other regard, and that's when the ideas start coming out, the feelings start coming out, the thoughts, the emotions, and you can really parse through them and figure out, hey, where do I want to go? What's getting in my way? And your therapist kind of walks alongside you, and it's a really cool experience.
Do you have any advice for folks who are tuning in right now? I know a lot of times it's, you gather up the courage to pursue therapy, you get in front of someone and it doesn't end up being the right match between client and therapist or patient and doctor. What advice do you have for folks out there to find the right match?
So it sometimes, you're right, it doesn't always work out the first time or the second time, because the biggest indicator for effective therapy is the rapport you have with your therapist. And you can get a very knowledgeable therapist, but personality-wise, you don't connect with them, and it's so important. And so when you're looking for a therapist, you're looking for somebody who you can relate to on a personal level, but also somebody who understands therapy and psychology very well. And getting that match, it's just like finding a doctor. People switch doctors all the time because you just don't feel great about the person working with you, and there's no one-size-fits-all model. And so a therapist could be really good with one client and not good with another client. And so sometimes it takes some jumping around, and that can be frustrating and an unfortunate part of seeking out therapy, but if it's a tool that you want to use, it's well worth it.
What the responsibility of a client, though, in regards to being honest with their therapist?
Absolutely.
How difficult is that for you? Because a lot of times, especially if you're in a situation where maybe there is something in your life you need to talk about, we're all the hero of our own story.
Yeah.
Maybe how often do you run into that struggle of being like, listen, you're gonna
lean into this more.
Yeah. Well, I think a good therapist knows how to ask the right questions and elicit the right information, because the trickiest part is not, in my experience, the trickiest part is not that the client is trying to intentionally deceive the therapist.
Sure.
The trickiest part is when the client is trying to deceive themselves.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that that you have to treat very delicately. And it requires skill, and it just requires a good therapist.
The lightest of touches, because like if you go down that, if you put a mirror in their face too soon or in the wrong way, boom, that person could be scared out of their out of their mind.
So it's just about asking questions, and it's not like I know I have all the answers when they walk in, you know, like I know this about you and this is what you need to do. It's not that. It's about me getting to know them, and getting to know them means asking a lot of questions and seeing where the patterns are and seeing where the disconnects are. And that's how you figure out, that's how you really get to know somebody.
All right. Before we get to Jake Hamilton's actual conversation with the actual Jeremy Allen White, one more question for you while we have you, Ben. How can people find you or get connected with your services if they are looking for some support?
So my email is benshabad@gmail.com. You can find me on Psychology Today just by searching my name. And if you want to tune into my mental health videos, just check me out at Ben Shabad Finally. That's my Instagram account.
Love it.
Absolutely. Like Thank you so much.
Excellent,
Thanks for
having
me.
Thank
you. Really,
Thank you.
really
Great to meet you in person. I've seen you on TV in a blue apron, maybe in a white t-shirt. It's good to see you in person and learn a lot more about your day job, which is so important.
Thanks
Ben.
man. You guys do an awesome job.
Thanks very much.
We
appreciate you watching, and we will be back with more Chicago Now right after this.